The sovereignty of identity, resisting the noble savage myth. The most insidious form of cultural appropriation is not the theft of symbols, but the theft of self-definition. When outsiders impose romantic stereotypes on indigenous peoples, demanding they remain culturally static and politically uniform, they practice a form of intellectual colonialism. This flat culture trap reduces living cultures to museum pieces, denying indigenous communities the complexity, contradiction, and evolution that every other society takes for granted. Real respect requires abandoning these fantasies and accepting indigenous peoples as they are, fully modern, politically diverse, and culturally adaptive. Indigenous survival has always been rooted in adaptation, not rigidity. When horses arrived on the plains, they were not rejected as foreign but were integrated, transforming societies while strengthening core values. The same is true of cattle ranching, where indigenous cowboys, many of whom are also Republican, fluent language speakers, and ceremonial leaders, blended ranching culture with traditional principles of land stewardship. This is not cultural confusion, it is cultural strength. Similarly, the high rate of military enlistment among Native Americans is not an abandonment of tradition, but its modern expression. The warrior ethos of community protection and sacrifice finds a contemporary path in military service, adapting ancient values to new realities. This cultural dynamism extends to the political sphere. The assumption that indigenous peoples should be a monolithic democratic voting bloc is a denial of our political agency. Within our communities, one finds a full spectrum of political thought, with individuals aligning as conservative or progressive based on their own interpretation of traditional values like community responsibility or collective welfare. These nuanced views often mean that practical, place-based relationships with local allies, regardless of their political affiliation, are far more meaningful than abstract solidarity. A neighbor who helps during a roundup forges a stronger bond than a distant activist who only sees us through a partisan lens. Ultimately, the demand that indigenous peoples conform to an outsider's romanticized expectations is a poison disguised as respect. It asks us to sacrifice our contemporary reality for their comfort, to be spiritual guides without political opinions, to be noble savages without human complexity. True indigenous identity, however, exists in the person who wears military fatigues to deployment and traditional regalia to a ceremony, who speaks an ancestral language while using a cell phone. We are not relics of the past. We are a full spectrum of humanity, honoring our ancestors while fully engaging the modern world. The foundation of